2021 arrives, and for many, it couldn't come soon enough. But does change on the calendar and in the White House mean a change of fortunes for so many struggling Americans? And with so much loss and heartache compounding every day, we'll revisit the thoughts of Michigan's poet undertaker Thomas Lynch on processing grief in isolation. Today is Sunday, January 3rd, 2021, and it's our annual Look Back, Look Ahead edition of Flashpoint. Hi, welcome to Flashpoint. A very happy new year to you and yours, and I don't know that that's ever been a more sincere wish. Yes, let me wish you that 2021 be a happy new year. I saw a few headlines over the last week asking if 2020 was the worst year ever, and I shook my head at our natural inclination for hyperbole and what I refer to as the primacy of the present. But after thinking about it for a while, I realized that, yes, for many people, 2020 has been the worst year of their lives. And yes, it remains very difficult to fully measure and take stock of 2020 because the pandemic continues even as the new year flips the page. The early exuberance of the vaccine is now colliding with dual realities. First, the logistics of getting it to everyone, and second, convincing everyone to partake. How those challenges are met or not met will have a lot to say about 2021. This morning, our annual give and take over the dawn of the new year. Admittedly, I'm more interested in looking ahead. Also take time to honor the lives lost. We'll do that too today on Flashpoint. All right, now let's start with our intrepid roundtable. And after last year, anyone agreeing to this, I'm joined by Democratic Congresswoman Debbie Dingell, CEO of the Detroit Regional Chamber. Above her there is Sandy Barua. The editorial page editor at the Detroit News is Nolan Finley, to the right of Sandy. And on your lower right-hand side there is the host of Detroit Today on WDET, Stephen Henderson. Let me start by pointing out, gang, that as I look back at last year's prognostications, not of one of you predicted a worldwide health crisis. So clearly I need to steer away from long-term outlooks. And let's focus.
To ask the question, Devin.
That's it, I guess. Let's focus instead then on where we are as we enter 2021. And Congresswoman Dingell, I want to start with you because for many, you summed up precisely where we are with your comments that you made that quickly went viral on Christmas Eve, talking about the frustrations and the fears that you're hearing every day from your constituents.
No, Devin, I'm so used to fighting with Nolan, I got ready to come out of the box that way. Devin, people are really, they're scared. I mean, yesterday, even after what I said last week and the House passed it on Monday, I got a note from someone in my district talking about someone who had tried to commit suicide out of just sheer desperation, that he had tried to get help in so many different places. Yeah. He couldn't afford his medicine, didn't know how he was going to live. We need to do something. And when I hear Senator Mitch McConnell say it's too much money, people don't need it, quite frankly, there are people that do need it that we are not even getting help to. And we need to be talking about how we're going to help those as well.
Well, Nolan, she brought you up. Let me go to you next. What have we learned, do you think, after the first round and watching the way the rest of the world has dealt with this? What have we learned about the best way to help people, and are we doing that?
Well, I think shooting money out of a confetti cannon is not the best way to do it. You should be targeting whatever money we spend at the people who actually need help. If you haven't lost your job this year, if you're still working, still bringing in an income, you probably don't need help. But if you lost your job this year and had a pretty good paycheck in 2019, you're at risk of not getting help, even though you may be suffering. This should be much more targeted, much more strategic, aimed at helping the people who need help. In terms of a stimulus, I think we saw in the spring might do a little good. I think the PPP loans did more good, but you're sending out checks to people who can't get out and spend it locally because you're not out and about, and your restaurants are closed, and many of your stores are limited. So who's going to benefit from these stimulus checks? Amazon. I mean, might as well just write these checks, send them straight to Amazon.
We also heard, though, too many stories, Nolan, about people who took those loans and did things that didn't exactly sound like they were addressing this crisis. But, Stephen,
Right.
you know how this goes in Washington. So much stuff gets tagged and stuffed into these big sausage casings when you put together a thing like this, that it's never as simple as just helping those in need.
No, it's not, and that's the legislative process. That's the way it works. It's disingenuous for Republicans to act as though this is different from other lawmaking. This is the way it goes all the time. Nobody talked about means testing when they were giving $1 trillion in tax cuts away a few years ago, whether people needed that or not. This is a really different situation. You are talking about a global pandemic that has not just threatened public health, but of course threatened everybody's economic stability. And even if you haven't lost your job, think of the number of people who've lost pay, taken pay cuts, don't have as much business as they used to. The idea that there's a massive number of people who are just going to soak this up from the trough, so to speak, is absurd and insulting. Everybody is hurting. Everybody needs this help. And frankly, even if they didn't, the idea that the approach ought to be to make sure that those who don't need it don't get it, rather than to just make sure that everybody who does need it does get it, speaks volumes about where people's values and priorities are. We have learned so much about that this year, and it is terribly, terribly disappointing.
Sandy, you are talking every day to business owners and business leaders as we look forward. What will make the difference in 2021? What is the prescriptive for fixing so much of this damage and shoring up what needs shoring up the most?
You know, Devin, thank you for giving me the easiest question, and I'm serious about that. The easiest answer to that question is getting a handle on the pandemic. Everything, our health situation, our economic situation is all directly tied to how well we get a handle on the pandemic. Right now, the United States is the worst performing rich industrialized country in the world in terms of responding to the pandemic. And frankly, that's not by accident, right? We as a country made specific choices, or frankly, didn't make choices that would have put us in a better position. And even right now, we are seeing that, while the manufacturing of the vaccines has gone well, I think the initial distribution has gone well, we've only used about 10 to 12% of the vaccines that are out there. So 2021 is all about one issue, and that is getting needles in arms. We need to get to 70% of our population, both in the state and across the nation, vaccinated, and that will help resolve both our health crisis and our economic crisis.
Well, Congresswoman Dingell, then the response to this virus has become so politicized. We keep boiling it down to the masks. It's a lot of different parts, though, that have become political matters. Do you see that changing just because we change administrations?
Well, I think the first thing you're going to see is that in the first action that President-elect Joe Biden took was to establish a COVID strategy task force. And he has already appointed 3 leaders of that. They're going to focus on the different aspects of it. He's been very clear, he is going to issue a national mandate for a 100-day mask requirement. How did masks become so political? We know, it's been documented, it saves lives. Why can't we just wear these masks? It's ridiculous. But Sandy's absolutely right. We can't rebuild an economy until COVID's under control. And we've got to help. One of the problems is, Pfizer's sitting here in Michigan, and the government's still not telling them where to ship the vaccine. And there aren't syringes available to be able to give people the vaccine. We have to have a plan to give that vaccine. We have to convince people that it's safe to get that vaccine. We have to help people live and get through this, and then we can start to rebuild our economy.
Well, and Nolan, as we continue to watch this fight over whether it's the federal response and have they finished theirs now, and now it's up to the states, arguing over who's doing this. When nobody can agree on whose baby it is, nobody's taking care of the baby.
Well, we knew this vaccine was coming for a long time, and we were assured by the administration that they'd turned it over to the Army and we would have the best logistical minds in the world working on this distribution. And here we are. In some places, we've got vaccines spoiling because it's so organized. Other places are just say first come, first serve, and lined up. We had time to develop a strategic plan. And I think, I wonder if anybody on the panel can say when they'll be able to get the vaccine and how they'll know. We still don't know, and we've been asking this question. We still don't know how people will be notified that it's their turn to get the vaccine. But on the other hand, I think the promise of the vaccine and the reality of the vaccine has changed attitudes over the last month or so. We see home sales, home prices surging. That suggests people believe better times are ahead, and we're going to come through this. I think I agree with Sandy. It's all about getting to that 70%.
All right, got to take a quick break. When we come back, I'll let Stephen take the first swing. When we come back, this is Flashpoint on Local 4.
Hi, I'm David Hall from Hall Financial. Mortgage interest rates are at historic lows, and now is the time to refinance your home loan with Hall Financial. You can cut years off your loan, lower your payment, even consolidate some lingering debts. At Hall Financial, we can help you save thousands of dollars, close your loan in half the time of the competition, and eliminate the need for an appraisal, all while giving you 5-star service. Don't miss out on these historically low rates. Go to davidhallmortgage.com today.
25 years goes really fast. The goal was to open up a law firm here in Detroit with my dad, Joel Morse. Morse & Morse probably would have been the working title. Unfortunately, my dad died when I was in law school, and we were never able to open the firm. After a few years, I hung my own shingle, and Mike Morse Law Firm started. The number of clients, the number of cases we've handled, it's been a whirlwind, but it's been really rewarding. I hope my dad's watching over us and he's proud of what I built.
Welcome back as we continue our New Year's conversation with Debbie Dingell, Sandy Barua, Nolan Fenley, and Stephen Henderson. And Stephen, let's stay with the vaccine issue here and what we do about the fact that some of the communities that have been hit hardest, most devastatingly by this virus, are the ones who still remain most suspect of the lifeboats here when it comes to the vaccine.
Well, that's about the history of this country and the experimentation that happened on African Americans and other vulnerable populations.
So how do we fix that?
It's got to be about messaging, right? You have to have really powerful, credible messaging about the importance of this vaccine, the safety of this vaccine, and the fact that this vaccine is going to stop the carnage that we have experienced in communities like Detroit. And it's also about the messengers, getting people in our communities, people who are trusted by people in our communities, to get out and show that they're supporting the vaccine, that they're taking the vaccine, and that they want others to take the vaccine as the way to mitigate that. But let's also not fool ourselves. I mean, we're talking about centuries of history that's behind this suspicion that people of color have of the medical establishment, of government, and all of these things, and we're not gonna overcome that because of the vaccine. We are not going to beat that here. What we can do is reduce the impact of it through that messaging that I was talking about.
Yeah. Sandy, to Nolan's point about none of the five of us here, man, maybe Congresswoman Dingell has been told when she might be able to get one. I have really no outlook as to when I might be able to get the vaccine. Sandy, I'm assuming you don't either.
Well, actually, I have a little bit better idea because I'm a kidney transplant patient.
You're right.
I'm a high-risk individual. I'm actually probably next in line after Debbie gets hers. So, Debbie, once you get yours, I'll get mine. So
you better get yours before me.
you lead the way. But Devin, let me say this real quickly about, first of all, what Nolan said before the break. What we're seeing is a last mile issue with the vaccine distribution. Again, the vaccines are being distributed. they're being manufactured. Yes, we have supply issues that Debbie brought up regarding needles and such. That should have been taken care of in advance. But clearly we're seeing once we get it into hospitals and local pharmacies in terms of getting it distributed, that's an issue. And to Stephen's point, our last statewide poll, which was right before Thanksgiving, which we did with the Glenn Gariff group, shows that about 50% of African Americans in Michigan are willing to take the vaccine, maybe not on day one, but relatively soon. And I think that's a good place to start. So I think that we've got a good basis to get our kind of at-risk population, especially our African-American community, vaccinated. If we start with that 50%, and as Stephen said, strong messaging, build from there.
Congresswoman,
I want to comment on this, Devin. I am one of the people that's afraid. I could have had the vaccine by now if I had wanted it because of continuity of government. And I'm going to admit to people that I was having panic attacks 2 weeks ago when some of my colleagues started to get it. I am educating myself. I'm talking to doctors, but I'm also not stupid. I have got to build up my confidence, and I have to get this vaccine. We are not going to get out of this. We are not going to return our country to normal until we all do. So I will ultimately get this when I get the courage, and I hope I'm able to bring other people along with me as we study it. We learn that it's safe. But it's not just people of color that are afraid of this. There are chicken people like me, but we also have to be smart. And I think we just have to learn and acknowledge we're scared, and we're going to have to do it, or our lives aren't going to get back to normal.
That's really honest, Debbie. I appreciate the candor on that. And Stephen, that's exactly the kind of thing you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, and for someone like Debbie to come out and say, hey, I am afraid of this, but I am going to do it, and to show that she's going to do it is part of what that messaging has to look like for other people who have real reluctance about this. And the truth is that we don't have a choice with that. We have got to get to that 70% number for things to get back to normal. And now right now, even if we put everybody to their best purposes right now, it's late summer or fall before we get to that number. That's just forever.
I want to get to two quick political matters before we have to get to a break. Nolan, who is going to be the leader? Where's the leadership of the Republican Party right now, and who will be in 2021?
Donald Trump. I don't see
in
any
exile,
sign.
in effect.
I don't see any sign that the GOP is going to let go of Donald Trump. I would expect the 2024 Donald Trump campaign to start on Inauguration Day. I have never in my life seen a politician with a greater hold on a party than Donald Trump has on Republicans. There is a intense loyalty. You didn't even see that with a Barack Obama. You didn't see it with a Ronald Reagan. This man has a tremendous hold on this party, and I think, for better or worse, for Republicans, he is going to be the leader of this party at least for the next year or so, and maybe for the next 4.
Sandy, I got about 20 seconds. Is that for better or for worse?
Well, in my opinion, it's for worse because I'm part of the old line Republican Party. I'm what I call a refugee Republican. I'm going to agree 100% with what Nolan said. I think what we are going to see, though, Devin, is that I think this movement of disaffected Republicans, people who started like the Lincoln Project, I think you're going to see a more formal effort to start something anew that is a home for people like me who are old line Reagan-Bush Republicans. And
lastly, Stephen, 15 seconds. What do we expect of the Detroit mayor's race this year? Quickly.
As always, who knows? it could be anything. It should be interesting, though, right? We don't even know who the candidates are yet.
No doubt about it. Gang, thank you all so much for the time. Happy New Year to one and all, and hopefully we'll see you all in person real soon.
Happy New Year, all.
Yep, you bet. Back
Happy
with more
New Year.
in just a minute.
Goodbye, 2020.
On Flashpoint. Don't go away.
Gardner White kicks off the new year with a bang. Save on huge doorbusters. Your choice, Serta, Sealy, or Beauty Rest, now just $277. The New Year sale at Gardner White, Detroit's #1 mattress store.
To all medical personnel, thank you. To those stocking shelves, delivering supplies, and getting us to work, thank you. To police, firefighters, military, and city services, saving lives and making lives better, thank you. To those manning gas stations, food banks, drugstores, and more. To good neighbors, great teachers, and those who helped others make it through this difficult year. From Local 4 and Click on Detroit, thank you.
Michigan, it's time for double the fun because DraftKings Sportsbook and Casino are coming to the Great Lakes State. Sign up early and get $100 towards blackjack and $100 towards any sports bet for free. As the #1 sportsbook and casino apps in the country, we've paid up north of $20 billion in payouts already. Sign up now because this offer won't last. Just download the apps, sign up with the promo code, get your $200 bonus, and make it rain.
Gardner White is kicking off the new year with a bang. Buy now and pay later with 0% for 60 months. Bedrooms at $12 a month. Power reclining leather, $13 a month. All with free same-day delivery. The New Year's sale only at Gardner White, Detroit's #1 furniture store.
The answer is an icon in the business. This man captained America's favorite quiz show for over 36 years. Who is Alex Trebek? As Jeopardy airs his final week of new episodes, Local 4 pays tribute to the life and work of this amazing man all week long on Local 4 News at 5. Monday.
From humble beginnings to a television icon, what was it that set Alex Trebek apart from the rest?
On Local 4 News at 5.
You know, we've lost so many friends, neighbors, and family members this year. We've lost quite a few community leaders in Southeast Michigan. Jewel Ware of the Wayne County Commission. We just this week lost Dan Paletko, the mayor of Dearborn Heights. And we lost two leaders who were frequent guests of this program, Wayne County Sheriff Benny Napoleon and community leader and the voice and face of Detroit 67, Marlo Stoudemeyer. They are among so many caught up in the awful storm of COVID-19. But death has been excruciating in a new way over the last year. So many people dying all alone, and then so many of the bereaved grieving all alone. And with that in mind, I wanted to revisit just a part of what I think was perhaps the most engaging conversation all year on this program, one with the Michigan undertaker and poet and writer, Thomas Lynch.
Mortality calls us to one another to hold and behold and embrace and gather. And when someone is dying, we want to be at the bedside. We think of it as a good death.
Yeah. We also, I think, we have seen many times over the years people who die in sort of mass ways, people who die in wartime, the many that we lost, of course, on 9/11. But I often wonder about the way that we have of dealing with knowing that we're sort of just a number, that a lot of people we're just being grouped in with what a lot of other people are going through.
It's so wise of you to see that as a deep wound to those who are dying and those who survive that death in the family. And because it takes away, Devin, one of the essential elements of a good death and a good funeral is the element of story, our story, which not only includes our biography, what we did this day or that day, but it includes our ancestors, where we came from, what we believe in, what we hold dear, what gives us hope. Our religious and our faith impulses are all included in a story that in this particular pestilence, we're not allowed to tell because we can't gather to share it with one another. And it's such a deep wound to the impulses that grief calls us to get together and to commune with one another. It's, as my nephew Patty Lynch said, adding insult to injury. And the injury is deep, the insult is keen.
Yeah. Over the years, you've written and talked a lot about the idea of a good death. And I think that is a concept that we, as human beings in the 21st century, struggle with a lot. Well,
the numbers on mortality are convincing, aren't they? They hover right around 100%. But we've all seen, as you were talking about just a moment ago, we've all seen individual deaths that are overwhelmed by the circumstances. The act of terrorism, or the school shooting, or the pandemic, or the plane crash, or whatever the anomaly adds to our mortality. Sometimes we lose the individual stories in it, and it's a great regret.
Let's move to the other side of the casket, if you will. And I'm really wondering what kind of real crisis we have coming with people who are not being allowed to grieve in the way that I think many people expect to get to do, whether it's being at somebody's bedside as they're passing away, or if it's just being able to come together for anything from an Irish wake to a very formal, gathering in a church. I really wonder what kind of toll this is taking on our own psychologies.
My father, the bed of heaven to him, may he rest in peace, used to say, grief will have its way with you. You can pay the psychologist, you can pay the clergy, you can pay the bartender, but you will pay. Grief will have its pound. I mean, grief is really the other side of the coin of love, and it comes calling, doesn't it? Yeah. For the tax that is due on loving people. So people have said to me for years, it must be very difficult to see people in their grief and bereavement, and it is. It is a dismal trade, but you also see the deep attachments and real love we bear for one another, and the kindness and the courtesy that humans do to and for and with one another. So the time will come round when we can, exercise the large muscle investments we have to make in our dead, the heart and the shoulders and the shovel work and that type of thing. In the meantime, the bereavement letter, which used to be a formal ritual in Victorian times, maybe we should find again the putting pen to paper to condole and console with one another.
And we all fervently hope and pray that the losses are far fewer in 2021. Thanks so much for being here today. Have a great week as we start 2021. Meet the Press coming up next, and we'll see you next time on Flashpoint.